Not because he did anything wrong, but because every time he asked, I was reminded of how far apart we were. Liam was simple. Not in a bad way. Just soft-spoken, routine, easy to read. He'd come home at 5:32 p.m. every day from the garage, smelling like motor oil and metal. He'd take off his boots by the door, wash his hands, and kiss my cheek like it was part of a checklist. Then he'd ask, "How was work?" And I'd always say, "Fine," even when it wasn't. Even when I'd just spent the day in meetings with people who used words like synergy and pivot, trying to sell dreams we didn't believe in. I was surrounded by fast minds, fast talkers, people who could spin a story in 5 seconds. People who made me feel seen. Liam never got that world. He once asked me what a podcast was. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I was embarrassed for him. I know that makes me sound cruel. Maybe I was. See, I used to believe I was smarter than him. That I had outgrown him. That I had married someone safe instead of someone exciting, and now I was stuck with stability instead of passion. We never fought. He never raised his voice. But somehow, that made it worse. I mistook his silence for stupidity. His routine for laziness. His loyalty for dullness. He didn't challenge me. Didn't argue. He didn't make me feel anything. And in a world that thrives on dopamine and drama, feeling nothing felt like death. So I started fantasizing about someone else. Someone sharper. Someone who could keep up. Someone who wouldn't ask how my day was, but would already know, just by looking at me. That fantasy would become my reality. And it would ruin everything. Because I thought Liam was a stupid man. But he wasn't. He was just quiet. And that was my biggest mistake. The first time I noticed Zane was during a strategy meeting. He walked in 15 minutes late, tossed his leather briefcase on the table, and started talking like he owned the air in the room. Every sentence felt like a quote waiting to be tweeted. People leaned in when he spoke. Smiled harder. Laughed louder. He wasn't traditionally attractive, but he had presence. Confidence without apology. Charisma that didn't beg for attention, but demanded it anyway. And when he looked at me, I felt it. Like I existed more than usual. At first, it was harmless. Just admiration. A little rush when our eyes met across the boardroom. A flutter when he complimented my presentation style. He called me razor sharp, said I was undervalued, and that if he had it his way, I'd be leading the entire department. I told myself it was just professional respect. But then it got personal. He started texting after hours, memes, jokes, just thinking of this and thought you'd appreciate it, kind of messages. I laughed too hard at them. Responded too quickly. Told myself it was innocent, that he just understood my world in a way Liam never did. I started comparing them. All the time. Zane could quote authors Liam had never heard of. Zane had traveled to 15 countries, while Liam had never left the state. Zane drank espresso and talked about philosophy. Liam sipped iced tea and watched football. Zane made me feel like the woman I thought I was supposed to be. So I started staying later at work. Sometimes because I had to, but mostly because I wanted to. I'd come home and Liam would be on the couch, dinner already made. He'd ask if I was hungry. If I was tired. If I had a good day. And something about his kindness, his predictability, started to feel irritating. He never questioned where I'd been. Never raised an eyebrow. Just observed. Silently. Like he already knew something I didn't. That silence. It crawled under my skin. One night, I vented to Olivia, my younger sister, the only person I could speak freely with. I told her Zane got me. That I deserved a life of stimulation and adventure. That I was tired of feeling like I had to dim my light just to make Liam comfortable. She said something I still remember word for word. Zane's exciting because you don't know him. You know Liam, that's why he feels boring. He's real. Zane's a projection. I laughed it off. Called her dramatic. But deep down, I was already convinced I deserved more. I didn't realize until much later. More doesn't always mean better. It started with an email. Subject line, leadership retreat, invite only. But the message was from Zane. Direct. Personal. Thought you should be there. Pack something elegant for dinner. I told Liam it was a mandatory company retreat, just 2 nights, some executive development nonsense. He didn't question it. Just nodded and asked if I needed help packing. I hated how easy it was to lie to him. The hotel was ridiculous. Sleek, glass walls overlooking the city, every inch designed to impress. Zane and I were the last 2 in the lounge after dinner. He leaned in close, resting his hand on my thigh under the table like it was the most natural thing in the world. I didn't stop him. It wasn't passion, exactly. It was heat. Power. Validation. The kind of attention I used to crave in college, the kind that made you feel like you were chosen. That night, I felt seen. Desired. But the morning after, he was different. Distant. Phone in hand. Barely made eye contact. I joked, so, do we pretend that didn't happen or? Zane didn't look up. He smirked, like I'd just told a bad joke. Emma, come on. It was fun, sure. But let's not complicate things, alright? We're both adults. Then he added, besides, you made it pretty easy. Something inside me cracked. The room got colder. My face burned. I wasn't chosen. I was convenient. I flew home that afternoon, numb the whole flight. Couldn't eat. Couldn't think. Liam picked me up from the airport. He had cleaned the car, even left a sweater in the seat in case I was cold. We drove home mostly in silence. I couldn't stop shaking. When we got home, I went straight to the bedroom. He followed behind, slow and steady. Then, his voice. Gentle. Calm. Did you have a good trip? I froze. My suitcase halfway unzipped. He stood in the doorway, eyes on me. But not the same eyes I knew. These weren't warm or curious. They were tired. I nodded, swallowing the guilt stuck in my throat. Yeah, I whispered. It was productive. He nodded too. Just once. Then walked away without another word. That's when I realized he knew. Maybe not the details. Not the hotel. Not the timing. But something deep in him had shifted. And it wasn't anger. It was acceptance. He was already letting go. And I didn't know why, but that terrified me more than if he had screamed. Something changed after that trip. Liam didn't say anything. Didn't confront me. But the air between us, it was different. Heavy. Hollow. He stopped asking how my day was. Stopped waiting up for me when I worked late. Stopped making dinner for 2. I'd come home to cold silence. Sometimes a sandwich in the fridge. Sometimes nothing at all. He wasn't cruel, just absent. The man who used to orbit my world was now miles away. Quiet. Still. At first, I thought it was guilt playing tricks on me. That maybe I was overreacting. But then I noticed the small things. His toothbrush was missing from the bathroom. His phone charger gone from the nightstand. He didn't sleep beside me anymore. I found the guest room perfectly made up one morning. The bed sheets tucked tight. A spare hoodie folded on the pillow. That's when it hit me, he'd been sleeping in there for weeks. I wanted to scream at him. Shake him. Demand he fight back, throw something, do something. But Liam just moved through the house like a ghost, polite, distant, unreadable. One night, I searched his desk drawer, hoping to find I don't even know what. And that's when I saw the envelope. Thick. Stamped. Legal. Petition for separation. Already filled. Already signed. His name in firm, final ink. I ran to him, hands trembling. What is this? I demanded. He didn't look surprised. Just stood there, arms crossed loosely. It's what you've been wanting. I just made it easier. Tears welled up before I could speak. Liam, please, don't do this. I made a mistake. He looked at me then. Really looked. And for the first time, I saw no pain. Just peace. And maybe a little sadness. I loved you enough to believe you'd find your way back, he said softly. Now I just hope you find your peace. I sobbed. I dropped to my knees, begged like a child. But he didn't raise his voice. Didn't even flinch. And that's when I realized. He wasn't stupid. He was just kind. And I'd mistaken that for weakness. It started with a headline. I was scrolling through my phone at midnight, alone, in silence, when I saw his name. RevTech goes public, co-founder Liam Harris quietly becomes multimillionaire overnight. I blinked. It couldn't be my Liam. But there he was, in a grainy photo, standing next to two guys in suits, smiling awkwardly like he'd rather be anywhere else. RevTech. That name tugged at something distant in my mind. Years ago, he used to meet with an old friend in our garage on weekends. Said they were tinkering with some software for shop scheduling. I never asked questions. Never cared. And now, that little side project was worth millions. I called Olivia the next morning, my voice shaking. Did you know? There was a pause. He told me about it a while back. Didn't want it public until everything finalized. Why didn't he tell me? Olivia's voice was quiet. Measured. Because he didn't think he needed to impress you. He thought love was enough. I didn't know what to say. He could have flaunted his money. Could have bought a new car, quit his job, rubbed it in my face. But he didn't. He just left. I drove past his new place later that week. A small house just outside the city, nothing flashy, just peaceful. Flowers in the yard. A porch swing. Curtain swaying in the open window. He was outside, laughing. With someone new. She was soft-featured, sun-kissed, in jeans and a loose cardigan. No makeup. Hair tied back. She looked warm. Steady. She looked like me, 10 years ago, before I became someone who measured worth in conference calls and curated Instagram posts. I parked down the street and walked into his old garage the next day. It's still open, still smells like motor oil and lemon cleaner. One of the mechanics recognized me. Let me walk around in silence. There were photos on the wall, pinned beside a dusty calendar. Old ones. Us. Liam and I at a county fair. Laughing. My head on his shoulder, cotton candy in hand. A snapshot of a life I once loved, before I decided it wasn't enough. I stood there for a long time. I didn't just lose Liam. I lost her, the version of me who could laugh without overthinking, who could sit on a porch swing and feel whole. Turns out, I left myself long before I left him. And now, he's the one who's whole. It's been a year since Emma last saw Liam, really saw him. Not through her old, warped lens of assumptions and silent criticism, but with the clarity that comes after you've lost something irreplaceable. She lives alone now, in a small, quiet apartment with peeling paint and a creaky stairwell. It's not glamorous, but it's hers, and more importantly, it's the first place she's ever been forced to face herself. No more distractions. No more illusions. Therapy has become her anchor. Every Tuesday at 5 p.m., she sits across from a woman named Dr. Jensen and peels back the layers of who she used to be. The bitterness. The entitlement. The fear masquerading as superiority. And then there's the journal, leather-bound, worn, and nearly forgotten. Liam gave it to her on their 3rd anniversary. At the time, she laughed, thinking it was a thoughtless gift. She never wrote in it. Never even opened it. Until now. Every page holds a version of herself she's meeting for the first time. Some entries make her cry. Others make her want to throw the book across the room. But she keeps writing, anyway. She hasn't dated since the divorce. Not because no one's interested. But because deep down, she's afraid. Afraid she'll mess it up again. That she'll hurt someone who actually loved her because she didn't know how to be soft. How to be grateful. Today, she finds herself walking a familiar path, almost on instinct. She stops in front of the auto shop where Liam works. It's early evening, golden light catching on the grease-stained windows. She sees him, still broad-shouldered, still laughing that deep, belly laugh she used to find too loud. He's with someone. A woman. Probably his new partner. Emma watches them from across the street. He looks happy. Healthy. Free. She doesn't cry. She smiles. Not the forced kind. A real one. Because for the first time, she's not thinking about what she lost. She's thinking about how lucky she was to have had it at all. She turns, slips her hands into her coat pockets, and walks away, lighter. I thought I needed more. But I already had everything, I just didn't know how to see it. Final question to the audience: have you ever misjudged someone so badly, that by the time you realized, it was already too late?